All right, welcome to the Comic Book Shop of Doom here on AwesomeStreaming.com. This is a review of a shoot interview with Michael Modest that was on the Hannibal TV on YouTube. So it was an hour and 25 minutes, and it's pretty good, and it fills in a lot of stuff that I didn't know about him. Uh, it's an honest interview where he actually says, with all the tryouts he had, that Vince McMahon doesn't like him, that he's only 5'10", wouldn't and they would keep jerking him around on these tryouts. And Mike Modest, he's mostly known for the movie Beyond the Mat, where he was in there, the documentary. And when they were filming that for WWE, they were filming the segment for that. He was promised 10 minutes to wrestle his match, and he told him, I'm going to get my 10 minutes in. And he goes, I already knew that I'm not going to get hired by WWE. So this is a joke. So he got his 10 minutes in, and he's like, yeah, Bruce Pritchard's screaming, does this guy not know when to quit? Because they were telling him to kill the match, early. And he's like, no, I'm getting my 10 minutes in. He goes, I'm never going to get hired here anyway. And he talks about All Pro Wrestling, where he was working there. Talks a little bit about Japan, not much. I mean, I'd like to do a deep dive on him. This guy can go and probably do an 8-hour interview. I mean, you could 2 hours on Japan alone, 2 hours on. He started his own company in the United States called Pro Wrestling Iron, and I got a couple of their tapes, DVDs. Interesting stuff. He was in WCW for a cup of coffee at the end when they shut it down. So Scott Steiner, him and Chris Candido were going to be Scott Steiner's kind of like minions, kind of like the Edge heads to Edge. They're going to be like his little disciples that would go do evil stuff. So it was an interesting, when you heard that, I'm like, okay, they had plans for him. And he's one of the first guys I've ever heard that actually said that he liked WCW because he said they were using him well. And that's a surprise because there's a lot of people that screamed WCW never used anybody well. So here was a guy that, WCW had plans for, but it got torpedoed when they got sold to WWE. And Vince doesn't like this guy because he's only 5'10". And he was living out of Vegas. He's doing a lot of acting now. He was a trainer at Future Stars of Wrestling, and I don't think he's doing that anymore. He didn't refer to it. And he says basically he's taking care of his daughter, and then I heard that he had 2 sons too. So not on this one, but from another source. So he's got a couple kids. He must be divorced. And hey, good for him. And if he can make a living, that's great. But there's a lot more I'd like to know, so I'd like them to go more in depth with this and do you could do 8 hours with this guy easy. Talking about All Pro Wrestling, you got Japan, you got his own company, all the jobs he had to do, the side jobs he had to do. He was working at a funeral home, he was working at a furniture company. I mean, those are normal jobs. And then he was talking about the guys that he trained. He trained Vic Grimes. And he was talking about that when Vic Grimes did that jump off the scaffold with New Jack in XPW. He worked for XPW. There's another one. He talked a little bit about that. So check it out. It's on YouTube under the Hannibal TV, and the title is Former WCW Star Mike Modest on GNW Podcast. So it's Great North Wrestling Podcast. So check it out. I highly recommend it, and I hope they do more. Everybody have a good day.